Hello, welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness. I'm the host, Darlene J. Clark. This is my third book out, Shattered Innocence Revised, available at Amazon in hardcover, softcover, and Kindle. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share. Remember to speak up against child abuse. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified. Just give this video a thumbs up. Hello and everyone here. Thank you for coming. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. And to remember also Colossians 3:21, fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. How's everyone doing today? I hope that y'all is doing great. So let me make sure to put trigger warning up here. But y'all say a friendly hello. So good to see you, Eric. I appreciate you coming and supporting me, supporting the channel. This is a little bit of information on sex trafficking, and the more I looked into it, the more I put on here after I titled this. So without further ado, here's the screen. Got more than a little bit, I guess. Here's the facts about sex trafficking, human trafficking in the United States. Human trafficking, also known as modern day slavery, is alive and well in the United States. Every year, millions of people in the world, including the U.S., are bought and sold for the purposes of forced labor or sexual exploitation. It can happen to any demographic, any gender, any race, or nationality. Information you'll find below. The human trafficking facts in 2024 we will be tracking are largely consistent with what we've been carefully observing for years. Below, you're going to find a lot of facts about human trafficking that may be troubling to read, but it's important that as many people as possible become aware of this serious problem and perhaps be encouraged to do something about it. If even one person becomes aware of important human trafficking facts in 2025 that they didn't know before, then perhaps that person will be able to identify warning signs when they see a person potentially being exploited. If that happens, then every awareness effort that anyone makes is worthwhile. We encourage you to take a look at the facts about human trafficking below. Specifically, you'll find information regarding sex trafficking in the United States, sex trafficking venues, labor trafficking in the United States, susceptibility of migrant populations, actions taken to prevent human trafficking. Click on any of the links above so you can be taken directly to the human trafficking facts in 2024 and beyond that you want to learn about. Let's see if it's going to be different than that. Uh, I think it's right here. Just go right here. I don't feel like fighting something like that at the moment. It is estimated that between 15,000 to 50,000 women and children are forced into sexual slavery in the United States every year. And the total number varies wildly as it is very difficult to research. One study from the Department of Health and Human Services estimated the number between 240,000 and 325,000, while a report from the University of Pennsylvania put it at between 100,000 and 300,000. If y'all have been taking note and watching a lot of these sexual exploitation, sex trafficking videos, that's at TV and Prime, you'll see that a lot of people went missing and they didn't know whether the person was dead or where the person was. They didn't know that the person was being trafficked. So these numbers do not depict the true brunt of the problem. There are many ways in which women and children are trafficked. Males note that males are indeed sometimes used in sex trafficking, but are more commonly found trafficked in the labor markets. Some of the ways females are trafficked include pimp controlled trafficking, in which a single person controls a victim physically, psychologically, or emotionally. Gang trafficking, in which a victim is controlled by more than one person and may be abused by the gang members or prostituted out by the gang. Survival sex, where the victim feels they are not able to escape and must perform sex acts in order to survive. Familiar trafficking, in which the victim is abused and controlled by their family members, and forced marriages. Yes, even forced marriages, because there's been some 8, 9 year olds, they end up marrying these adult men because the parents do that. Sex trafficking venues. Sex trafficking has grown exponentially since the dominance of the internet and the online porn industry. Victims are either used for pornographic pictures or videos, or they are prostituted out through online platforms such as Craigslist, Facebook, and MochaSpace. Some dedicated websites are created through subscription services such as San Diego Adult Service Provider, which charge members $100 per month to browse its online catalog and purchase sex. This site was taken down by police in 2016. Put in mind also because of AI generated, a lot of people are using different kids' pictures that people's got. Honestly, not thinking that their child's going to be exploited. You see a kid out on the beach or something like that. You take a family photo because you want your friends to see the pictures and everything. But one thing you got to worry about, these trappers, they don't care. They'll get a picture of your kid, they'll crop it, use your kid's face, and guess what? There's AI generated movies that they can make porno flicks with your child's face and body, and that's sickening for your child's face and body be on the internet in that any which way. Hotels and motels are a major venue for sex trafficking, often through pimp-controlled victims that are affiliated with the hotel's owner or employees. Massage parlors are another common place for trafficking. Truck stops are a third place where pimp-controlled women and girls are found. In all these instances, these women may be indebted to the pimp or organization and have no funds, contacts, or language skills to use to flee. Sporting events are also a common prostitution venue, which we knew about that over there at the Super Bowl, right? According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, 10,000 prostitutes were brought to Miami for the 2010 Super Bowl. Similar reports have been made about the 2014 FIFA World Cup. The gathering of large groups of people, as well as tourists' willingness to spend money, is what makes these large events so lucrative for traffickers. That said, labor trafficking in the United States, it's hard to get a solid estimate on just how many people are being used as slave labor in the United States, as the government doesn't classify every freed slave as a trafficked person. According to the National Institute of Justice, 15% of the people classified as trafficked are deemed to have been put into labor trafficking, but they point out that they believe that number is significantly lower than the actual total. The most common area of labor trafficking is in agriculture, and it encompasses both legal and undocumented workers. The exploitation is often threats of violence, either to the worker or their loved ones, the threat of deportation, or perpetual debt that the worker owes to the crew leader. It is important to note that while some of the trafficking is on a small level, one crew leader, often a fellow migrant or worker threatening a few people, it also takes place on a large corporate scale. For example, in 2000, the labor contractor JB Farm Labor forced hundreds of workers to farm asparagus for little to no pay. The workers, mostly from Mexico, would charge large fees that were deducted from their paychecks, leaving them trapped and enslaved. In another instance, next year, the company R&A Harvesting in Florida forced hundreds of citrus pickers to work under threat of abuse and violence. It would be inaccurate to believe that these trafficking operations are not taking place on a macro scale. Susceptibility of migrant populations causes to migration are broken into categories of push and pull. The push categories are factors that force a person to migrate, such as unemployment and natural disasters. Pull factors are these things that draw immigrants in, such as job opportunities, romantic relationships, deceitful or otherwise, and the American dream. Human traffickers exploit these push and pull factors to get people to leave their positions of security and be exploited. It's like, you really need me. You can't do it without me. What a farce, right? Those suffering from push factors may feel they have no other choice but to accept the help of dangerous criminals, such as pursuing employment that may otherwise sound risky or untenable, but which people seek because they are desperate. Traffickers prey on individuals and families that are traveling, hungry, homeless, and sick. They may offer a job only to get the migrant away from their area of safety and force them into labor. Likewise, pull factors entice people to come to the United States, often through deceitful practices. A trafficker may spark a phony relationship with a person to get them to cross the border in search of a better life, only to trap them in sexual exploitation. Actions taken to prevent human trafficking. Human trafficking in the United States has been banned since the passage of the 13th Amendment. The federal statute outlawing trafficking is Title 18 of the United States Code, particularly Section 1584, which makes it a crime to make someone work against their will, and Section 1581, which makes it illegal to work in a debt servitude. In 2000, the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act made it easier to prosecute and sentence traffickers and provided resources to do so. There's also a National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline, which we got a new organization thanks to Roland Cerna, which is the Wonderful Rescue Foundation. Safe harbor laws have also been enacted to protect victims so that they will not be prosecuted for prostitution or other crimes they may have committed while in slavery. Doctors and medical professionals are also trained and instructed to identify and protect victims. With that, I'm going to have to mute my mic so I can play y'all this audio. Good morning, Donna. Good to see you. Hi there. Welcome back, Shelley. Thank you. So let me mute my mic. Y'all will not be able to hear me.
Our children are being sold for sex on the streets of the cities that we live in. We need to do something about this. But I've been hearing about the war since 2009, and we still haven't solved the problem. They are hunting our children. They are turning our children into commodities. And our streets are not safe as long as those traffickers are out there.
They'll reach out to those girls on social media, and they'll look for that 12, 13, 14-year-old girl who says that she's mad at her dad on social media. And that trafficker looks for that opportunity to start manipulating her, separating her from her friends and separating her from her family by telling her the things that she wants to hear.
It's a teen girl that ran away from home, and a trafficker picked her up at the bus stop or saw her at the mall or offered her a warm meal or a place to stay.
He gets her to do something that she regrets, and then will use that as blackmail against her in order to get her to do more things, or to get her hooked on narcotics, and then she'll do anything to get the narcotics. The statistics show that 1 in 6 runaways will be approached by a human trafficker within the first 48 hours that they run away.
We started Deliver Fund with the idea of We want to rescue the victim. But the best way to do that is to actually remove her trafficker from the system. And in doing that, you not only rescue that victim, but you rescue the potential victims that trafficker would have in the future.
At Deliver Fund, we started looking at all the different problems and seeing where we could be the most effective. We take our special operations and intelligence capabilities and our technology, we focus them on finding out who the human trafficker is so that we are preventing future victims by eliminating the human trafficker.
I started my career in intelligence with the United States Air Force, and I was a SIGINT analyst for 6 years. I deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan doing targeting in a counterterrorism target set. I was contacted by Nick McKinley, and he offered to allow me to hunt human traffickers, and I just could not refuse.
We built Deliver Fund with a pretty comprehensive group of people from different places, from both former military intelligence, CIA, NSA, FBI.
Working at Deliver Fund as a targeting analyst, I have a very cool job because all I have to do is wake up and open my computer to go to work. So wherever I am, I can find you a human trafficker because it's happening absolutely everywhere.
So to solve the problem of connecting law enforcement and connecting cases, we realized that we could do it the same way that we did with terrorism overseas. We equip, we train, and we advise law enforcement for the fight against human trafficking, specifically equipping them with software. We have our own engineers, and really for the first time in history, are building purpose-built software for the fight against human trafficking. The second piece of what we do is we train law enforcement. So it's not enough just to give law enforcement tools and say, go forth and conquer human trafficking. You actually have to give them the training on how to use those tools in the most efficient and effective manner possible.
Between the technology and the training that we've given them, we've taken what was otherwise still taking them on 3 weeks or longer down to a matter of just hours, from the time of finding that to getting a warrant to being able to action on it. One of the first cases that we were involved with at Deliver Fund was the Samantha case. She was addicted to heroin, sold for sex 6 to 20 times a day.
In my city, there was only 2 officers that were assigned to the Human Trafficking Task Force at the time. And they didn't have the resources or the tools they needed to actually build a case. So I was still living in constant fear. This is when they connected me with Deliver Fund. So I only had maybe his first name, the make, model, and color of his car. And that was the information that I was able to give them and the police. So that's why the police were not able to make a case with the little bit of information I had. Deliver Fund used that same information and the phone that I had and was able to track him down with the tools and the resources that they have. And they were able to build the case that law enforcement used to charge him. I can honestly say if it wasn't for Deliver Fund, I wouldn't be here today because I would still be in fear of my life. I would still be running, and I probably would still be in the sex industry.
In today's world, we touch the internet. When we touch the internet, we leave fingerprints all over the place. We find those fingerprints, and the digital evidence that we're working with is overwhelming. You cannot lie. It provides law enforcement with the ability to basically confront them with their crimes.
The Achilles heel for the human trafficker is the fact that in order to do business at scale, they have to advertise. And once you touch the internet, we can find you.
The solution to ending the problem is going after the bad guy, going after the criminal, going after the one who would be willing to sell our children. That's how we're going to end human trafficking in our lifetime.
plus continuing to create the precursors that make fentanyl. They're trying to destroy this country. That's my personal opinion.
Well, they're selling drugs all over the country. They're selling drugs all over the state of Maine.
And
Chinese nationals.
And what's the Biden administration done to China about creating these fentanyls that they sell to cartels in Mexico? What have they done? What have they done about the cartels?
Nothing.
President Trump's going to.
No, because fentanyl's killed the exact Americans that Biden hates and is always attacking. So, I mean, it's committed genocide against his enemies. So he doesn't seem against it at all. It's all very dark. I have to wonder, you used the phrase military age males. Because this was so coordinated by these NGOs, Catholic Charities, UN, and others, you have to kind of wonder, like, is there some military purpose to this invasion? Have you wondered that?
I wonder it every day.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get in power to start drilling down on these files. Who are these people who you release? What kind of vetting did you do? Did you take biometric, biographic data?
Yeah, high testosterone foreigners? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be paranoid, but
it's been very, they don't talk about it. And it's very, but when we get in power, we're going to have to pull all those records. Like that's over 300,000 missing children. We got to pull those records from HHS.
Okay, so what? I'm sorry.
I've been told by whistleblowers.
What is that? 300,000 missing children. That's something else I've read reference to.
Look, over 500,000 children been trafficked into this country, and they get turned over to custody of HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, who find sponsors and release them to sponsors. I've talked to several whistleblowers say they weren't even fingerprinting the sponsors on many occasions and not doing proper vetting. We have a whistleblower who testified in front of Congress now 3 times. That a lot of these children seem to be victims of trafficking. They're released to unvetted sponsors, and many children will be released to one sponsor. The one whistleblower said there was 11 young girls released to one male, single male. Maybe it's all innocent. Maybe it's not. But
there's nothing innocent about it. That's sick.
And look, the CBP One app, they shut that down because of massive fraud. One of the insiders in CBP told me, for example, one dead man sponsored over 1,600 people. Been dead for years. Massive fraud, massive trafficking involved. And when they talked about opening CBP One app to do that, I said at the time, before they even implemented it, if you do this, it's going to create a huge trafficking network. Or if you're from Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, or Venezuela, you want to come to the United States under this CHNV program, you just got to find a sponsor who want to take care of you. How many sick pedophiles would be willing to sponsor anybody from one of those 4 countries to come live in the United States? Then after they get here, you own them. All you got to do is, you're their official sponsor. Without you, they can't stay. And what are these sick sponsors? Not all of them, but many of these are going to be predators and sick people. What are they going to do to these people who are trying to stay in this country? It's a huge human trafficking issue. I guarantee you.
And by human trafficking, is it mostly for prostitution?
Prostitution or forced labor, mainly, those 2 things.
So if you go to any construction site in the big construction site, they're building a data center or a mall. I know this because I know a guy who in the business just told me this. Anyone in the United States, there will be child prostitutes there from Latin America brought in by the cartels for the guys on the cruise. And I said, does everyone know this? He said, everyone knows it. I mean, it's just a fact. Every big construction site in the United States. Does anyone ever do anything about it? No, no one ever does anything about it.
Wait till January 21st.
I don't understand that, though.
No,
if everyone in the building trades knows that, how can law enforcement ignore it?
We're not going to starting January 21st.
Good.
But I can tell you, look, of the over 300,000 this government lost track of, I guarantee you, as I sit here today, we'll find many in forced labor. We'll find many in forced sex trafficking. That's a sad thing. We're going to find it. So that's why President Trump's saying, seriously, we got to save, especially we got to save these women and children that are put in this position. The immigration consequences will still come, but first we got to save and get these kids. As far as the kids, over 300,000, we got to save these kids. A lot of them are living life hell every day, and I guarantee you, we're going to find. ICE HSI has already found some of these children in meatpacking plants, cleaning up entrails on a midnight shift. We're going to find some living with pedophiles. We're going to find some are in sex slavery. Some are going to be dead, but we got to find these children. And President Trump made that a third rail of priorities, and it's something that needs to be done. this administration stopped the DNA testing. They stopped the proper vetting. Under the Trump administration, we were having the same problem in the beginning. We did DNA testing. You weren't a family unless DNA testing showed you a family. And we did vetting. We didn't just vet the sponsor fully. We vetted everybody in their household to make sure there wasn't a pedophile living in that house, make sure there wasn't someone arrested with domestic violence in that house. This administration stopped all that because Becerra, the secretary of HHS, he gets on stage and brags. And I saw him on a stage bragging how quick we release these kids from government custody. We got a machine here. It's like the Ford plant. We get them in and out of here. Yeah, because you stopped the proper vetting, you stopped the DNA testing, and God help you for what you did to these children. Because a lot of these children are living a life of hell every day. So we got to find these kids.
It's unbelievable. So, last question. I'm just interested in why you're doing this. So you did it for 40 years. Yeah, 1984, 40 years. And then you go into the private sector and you're not retired, but you get to do kind of what you want to do and make a real wage after working for the government all these years. And this problem is just so enormous. And the bureaucracy is so complex and hard to fight, and they always win in the end. Why would you take this job?
Well, because I love my country, first of all. We made more progress on the Southern border than ever before in the first Trump administration. I was ICE director. I'm taking an 82% pay cut.
Oh, I bet.
And I'm going back to a government paycheck. And thank God my wife supports me. She said if I don't take the job, she's going to divorce me. Because she don't want to see me waking up every day, mad at the world because I didn't come back.
So your wife's not a liberal?
No, she's not. I say this many times because of things I've seen in my career. I mean, I stood in the back of a tractor trailer. I grew up in a town of 2,500 people. Either you milk cows, or you're a logger, or you worked at Fort Drum. It's only three things you did where I grew up. So I grew up in a town of 2,500. I fast forward. I'm standing in the back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death in back of that tractor trailer, including a 5-year-old little boy who suffocated. And on top of him was his father who was trying to protect him. During that investigation, they said that little boy begged his father to die because he wanted to see his mom again. Begged over and over again. Here's a 5-year-old little boy who knew he was dying and asked his dad for help.
No.
And his dad can't help him, right?
No.
I've talked to little girls as young as 9 who were raped multiple times by members of the cartel. Not once, numerous times. Grown men crawled upon this little girl, took everything innocent and pure from her. Her life would never be the same. Look in her eyes. There wasn't life in her eyes. It's just, this little girl's devastated for life. And this happens every day. When they unsecure the border on purpose, I wrote an op-ed of Fox News, and I says, if Joe Biden wins the presidency, we lose the border. When you lose the border, trafficking of sex trafficking will skyrocket, child deaths will skyrocket, migrant deaths will skyrocket, American deaths will skyrocket from drugs coming across that border. I wake up every day pissed off for 4 years. So, and I've been on numerous networks complaining about it. So when President Trump calls me up, says, you've been complaining about for 4 years. You want to come fix it? How do you say no? Yeah. First of all, you don't say no to the President of the United States. And second of all, I won't say no to secure. I love this country. I want to save some lives. Secure borders save lives. So I'm going to come back and do what I can. I guarantee you what we're going to do is going to save migrant lives. It's going to save American lives. It's going to protect our national security. That's why I'm coming back. Not for the pay. I can tell you that. I'm coming back because after 3.5 decades doing this job, do you understand it? Do you understand the tragedies that happen around it? The more secure that border is, the more lives we save. So I can rest. When I retire for the third time, I can say, I did my part to save some lives, and maybe less children are being exploited and women are being exploited by these cartels. And my number one goal is seeing these cartels wipe off the face of the earth. And I think President Trump's the guy to do it.
Of everyone appointed, I think you got the best shot of winning because you know exactly what you want to do. Tom, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay now? Testing, testing. So the next thing I want to share with y'all, let me make sure I do this copyright disclaimer, having it at the bottom of the screen too, okay? Thanks everybody for coming in. Hey Sherry, thank you. I still got more to show, okay? So we also are going over sex trafficking movies and finding out more, learning as much as possible. So I want to show y'all this, okay? I believe it's at TV, if I'm not mistaken. It is called From Liberty to Captivity, okay? Let me look it up on my. Yeah, it's at TV, okay? From Liberty to Captivity, okay? I want to read y'all this, what it says, okay? About the film. What if you found out that the places you frequented with friends, like coffee shops, malls, sporting events, and hotels, were hunting grounds for human traffickers in the very same places where children and adults were being sold in America? Sex trafficking may be the greatest human and civil rights issue of our time. It encompasses racism, sexism, sexual violence, addiction to drugs and alcohol, physical violence, verbal abuse, pornography, and poverty. A beastly industry that thrives on the public's lack of awareness. It does not discriminate based on location, urban, suburban, or rural, or sex, country, or even state. This award-winning feature film, length film, innovatively draws on direct comparisons to the tragic extent of modern-day sex trafficking and the history of slavery in the United States, while providing real stories and solutions to end it. The film asks the question, how could America go from being a country that represents freedom to a country where sex trafficking and slavery are flourishing? From liberty to captivity zooms in on and examines the impact of the profitable industry in a state that was instrumental in the fight to end slavery in the 1800s. Pennsylvania followed several individuals throughout their personal and professional experiences with sex trafficking, and it gives viewers a very real hope of conquering it. Our mission is to awaken people from all walks of life to the pervasive reality of sex trafficking in order to plant the seeds of hope, inspiring them to carry forth the legacy of the abolitionists who came before them, fighting for freedom and rewriting America's history. The From Liberty to Captivity team was deeply honored that a flag was hung over the U.S. Capitol and proclamation read to the U.S. House of Representatives in January 2019 in honor of its mission to use the film as a weapon in the fight against sex trafficking. The film is being submitted to critical film festivals across the world. In the last year, From Liberty to Captivity was an official selection of 15 local, national, and international film festivals and has already won 10 awards, including Best Documentary 4 times. Parallel to film festival submission, the film is being shown at independent theaters, churches, and other places of worship, universities and colleges, community events, and other venues across Pennsylvania and other states where people can view the film and then be immediately connected to, get involved with, and to provide support to. Organizations that are actively working to help victims, survivors, and eradicate human trafficking in the very communities where the film is being shown. After the grassroots distribution plan for the film has been implemented, the plan is to distribute the film via various pay per view and online streaming services and other mass media channels, as well as to sell copies of and license rights to show the film in the hopes of reaching audiences of all ages all over America and across the world to inspire them to carry forth the legacy of abolitionism. Say wow on that. And it's at Tubi, y'all. It is at Tubi. So thank you so much, Donna and everybody. I think we touched on a lot of bases today, and I feel figured that this was very important going over this with y'all. I appreciate y'all. Please like, subscribe, and share. Get the word out. It's very important. I like what Tom had to say. I like what Tucker Carlson had to say. There's so much going on. I love this movie right here so far, what I see about it, and I would recommend all my trafficking friends, and even if you're not um, want to be work with us on this, at least get knowledge about what's going on, so you know what you're up against with our world today. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and thank God for y'all, and God bless y'all. You are quite welcome, Shelley. I appreciate you. Yeah, the Super Bowl is the biggest trafficking day of the year. That's true. And what's so scary is knowing that um, even little things like at night, you never know how far these traffickers would, like where I used to live. There was a lady that was on the Montel Williams show, and my boyfriend kept saying, "Come back in here. It's similar to your story. It's similar to your story." And I said, and at times I would run back in there when it was close to mine. They covered the girl's face, and it did not give her real name for protection, to keep her safe. And then when she said Athens, Alabama, that's exactly where I was, and that's exactly where the cult was, and that's like my feet went out from underneath me, right? I just fell, right? And she said that the house where there's three different places where the demonic cult was held, and one of the main places where the cult was, the house is fixing to be torn down. The next time I see my son, he said, "Mom, did you know the house where you were living is being torn down?" So it's like, okay, not surprising, right? I want to thank each and every one of y'all. And see, now they did tear down the house. It is a part of where they store things for a prison over there. They no longer have like a regular mailbox there. They do have the shed out back that you can work on cars back there, a little garage that my ex stepfather built back there because he did the dirt track racing, but that was there. Now there's different little buildings out there, big fence posts, and there's a rope going across there, but that doesn't mean that they're not going back there still today and using that property to do these heinous actions, right? And the scariest part to me is that right beside where we used to live, the property next to that, it's an elementary school. And that is very scary to me. Hey, Charles, good to see you. It's good to see you. Do you want to end up doing a show about 2 o'clock? I think 12 in about 10 minutes or so, because I think you want to give some people some information. Am I right or wrong? Well, let me know that, Charles. Just let me know, and we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and align that up. We can in an hour. Okay, so I would say about right around 1 o'clock my time and 2 o'clock your time. All right, that sounds good to me. There's going to be some information and the people that he has to talk about that it's got some connection with me as well, with the things that happened to me. Some of the people, not all the people. Um, and then it's going to have connection, how it ties into John Ramsey. Okay, John Benet Ramsey's daddy. All right. Well, I hope y'all stay tuned in about an hour and y'all come back and you're able to support my good buddy Charles Rogers. Lots of love. Thank you so much. And God bless y'all.